Oh, Luke here. Hard Times Chronicles #3. I think it's #3. I'm still editing #1 and #2. But I think this is going to end up being the third one. And this is one of those sales that I went to on my lunch hour. I got an hour for lunch where I worked, and it doesn't take an hour to eat lunch. I usually grab a sandwich, and narrow county road can become a 4 or 6 lane thoroughfare. And this house on the corner of our street and this road had been condemned and bought by whoever, the government. And they were having an auction there to liquidate the contents of the house. And I went by there on my lunch hour. When I got there, I met a friend of mine there who was an antique dealer from a little place, maybe 20, 25 miles south of Bedford. And he and his wife had an antique shop on Highway 37 entering that town, and he was there at the sale. I chit chatted with him a while, looked around, and we noticed this really nice walnut cupboard. Actually, it was only part of a cupboard. I think probably what it was the top half of what originally had been a step back cupboard. Uh, and it was in its probably original condition. Very nice. Had raised panel doors in it. The doors were pegged together. The thing was solid walnut. It was in really good shape. Didn't have much finish left on it, but it never had a lot of finish, not varnish or paint or anything. It was in probably either clear varnish or shellac or some finish that allowed the natural wood to show. And it was sitting there in the yard and caught my eye, and I liked it, and I was talking about it, and he said he had liked it too. In fact, he had seen it, one of the first things he had seen when he arrived that morning, and he intended to bid on it. And I said, well, you'll probably pay more for it than I would. I mean, he was in the business of buying and selling antiques, and I worked for General Motors and just did it for a pastime or a hobby. And so anytime we were serious about something, unless it was something we really liked to keep for ourselves, he was always able to outbid what I was willing to pay. And when he told me what he was willing to pay for this, uh, I think his number was something like $140 he was willing to pay for it. I said, I asked way more than I would pay, so I'll just stay out of your way. I'm here when it sells. So we went on about our business, and the sale progressed. And the auctioneer that was having that sale, he was at one time the most successful or the most busy auctioneer in our county. And at the time of this sale, he probably still was vying for that position, either #1 or #2 auctioneer in the county. But he was had peculiarities about him, and he liked to jump around from one place to the other. It was hard to tell how the sale was going to go. I mean, he might be here, and then he might work right up to a certain thing or a certain row of things. Then he might just for no reason jump over there about 30 or 40 feet on the other side of the yard and start selling stuff and just leave off where he had, it looked like what was going to be next. And so people complained about it sometimes, but he didn't care. I mean, he did whatever he wanted to and was pretty pleased with himself and doing it, and it aggravated you. He didn't care about that either. So he was going down along the front of the house, and he pulled one of those maneuvers. He got to the corner of the house, and then he moved from there instead of out on the next row of stuff in the yard or down the opposite corner of the house. He just moved over to the side of the yard next to the street. and that's where this cupboard top was sitting. So he started the bidding on the cupboard top, and I looked around, and I didn't see my friend anywhere. And so the cupboard was down there in a neighborhood that I would have liked to have owned it. So I bid on it. He took another bid. He came back to me, and I looked to see who was bidding, and well, it's my aunt, Aunt Colleen. She was on the other side of the yard, standing there, smoking a cigarette and looking around. And she hadn't seen me yet either. And when she did see me, she kind of scowled at me like, I hope you're not bidding on my cupboard. So I wasn't going to bid against her. So I did it. And someone else got into the bidding as well. And ended up, she bought the cupboard for $80. And which I would have paid that for it myself. But as I said, I wasn't going to bid against my aunt. Well, here in a little bit, my friend comes back around the corner of the house carrying a hot dog and a cup of coffee, and he's dismayed that the crowd is over there in the vicinity of the cupboard. And he came running up there and he said, have they sold that cupboard? And I said, yes, they just sold about 2 minutes ago. And he said, oh my God, he said, I was going to bid on it. I said, no, you were. I said, you're not going to be happy when you hear what it sold for. And he said, what did it bring? I said, $80. He said, oh my. He said, you bought it, didn't you? And I said, no, I didn't buy it. He said, why didn't you buy it? How would you know how to buy it from me? You could have made some money. I said, well, that lady right over there is my aunt, and she bought it. He said, you think she'll sell it? I said, I doubt it. She doesn't buy stuff to sell. She likes walnut. She likes peg doors. She likes raised panels. And she likes that cupboard, I'm sure. He said, well, I'd let her make a pretty good profit on it. And I said, well, go talk to her. So we went over there. I said, Aunt Colleen, this is Richard Day. And she said, I know who he is. And I said, he likes that cupboard that you just bought and wanted to know if you'd sell it. She said, no, I don't want to sell it. So that was the end of that. And but that's not the end of this story, because this, like a lot of other stories about things bought and sold in auction, I'm going to stop right here and let you look behind me at this walnut cupboard top sitting on a walnut table with a walnut drawer in it. Actually, 2 walnut drawers. And I'm going to tell you that this is the cupboard in the story. And you can look at it. It looks just like I described it, except for one thing. It's been refinished. So it looks a whole lot better than it did that day sitting in the yard. Not only has it been refinished, it's sitting on a walnut table. Nice legs, nice drawers, nice top. Aunt Colleen bought the cupboard. She stripped it and refinished it. She bought this table, and when she bought the table, it didn't have any drawers in it. In fact, it was a table that was intended to have one drawer, had one long drawer opening, and it didn't have the drawer, and it didn't have the top. And she took walnut boards and made the top for it herself. And then she found a drawer that almost fit the hole, and she brought it to me, and she said, this sometime later, she said, look, I've got this table, I want to put this drawer in it, but it doesn't quite fit. Can you make me some spacers to go on the end of the drawer so I can put this drawer in that table? I said, Aunt Colleen, don't like the looks of that. And I don't think you're like the looks of it either after you put those spacers in there. Well, she already had the spacers cut, and she put them up there and showed me what the drawer's going to look like. And I said, I'll do it. I'll put those in there for you, but I don't want to. I think it would be better if you either made a drawer or found another drawer. And she said she had waited around long enough to use the thing, and she wanted to put it to use in her house. And so we put it together like she wanted to, with the drawer and the spacers. Sometime after that, she found uh, some more drawers and was able to put two drawers in it instead of one, and put the spacer in the middle, and the whole thing looks way better than it used to. So, what was a cupboard top from a step back cupboard sitting in a yard on our street became uh, kind of a marriage of a table and a top to look like a Lincoln desk, and it sat in my Aunt Colleen's living room for uh, several years. Well, she had an auction, and you've heard of this auction, and you'll hear of it again. You've heard of it already in one of my stories about the box that my brother tried to buy. This in that same auction, uh, she sold lots of different things, but she didn't want to put this in the auction, and she didn't want to get rid of it. So what it eventually happened to it was she gave it to her son, my cousin. His name's Stan. He's 11 or 12 years younger than me. She gave it to him because she didn't want to put it in the auction, but she didn't have room to take it herself. And Stan took it and I guess put it in his house. Several years later, uh, after Aunt Colleen had passed, I was looking at the want ads in the paper, and I saw this uh, description of what was called a Lincoln's desk. And I thought, well, that looks like that could be Aunt Colleen's walnut cupboard top. So I called my cousin Stan, and I said, Stan, I'm looking at an ad in the paper, and said, looks like maybe you're trying to sell Aunt Colleen's walnut top on the table. And he said, yes, I am. He said, he was surprised that I suspected it was that, just from reading the description. I said, oh, yeah, I liked that. And he said, well, do you want to buy it? And I said, no, I liked it. I just wondered if you were, that's really what was being sold. I said, the price you got on it's more than I'd be willing to pay for it. He said, well, I might take less than that. And I said, oh, that's all right. Go ahead and sell it. And I don't think it's not worth what you're asking for. It's just more than I want to pay. And so why don't you just go ahead and sell it? Well, I never heard any more from him about it, and it disappeared out of the paper, and I assumed that somebody bought it. But maybe a month later, he called me on the phone. He said, hey, look, he said, you still want to buy that wallet thing that Mom had? And I said, well, I still like it, but it was way, what you wanted for it was a lot more than I wanted to pay for it. Just what it amounted to. And I said, I hate to lowball you on it because it was probably worth what you were wanting to get. Then he shot me a price on it that I couldn't say no to, and I bought it. So here it sits in my front room, and my wife, she uses it to store various things that she doesn't use very often. I think there's a food processor, and I don't know what all she keeps in that thing, but it's an extra storage and a nice looking piece of furniture in our living room. I'll tell you the story about this box, and then I'm going to let that end the episode. This box, I've already told you, is my favorite box of all the boxes that I own. This box has a fairly long story. I first saw this box in the late 1970s, possibly as early as 1980 or 81, but I think it was more like 1978, 77, 76, somewhere in there. And I had begun going to auctions and buying and selling things, and my taste in things that I bought hadn't developed. I might buy anything that I thought I might buy, and sell and make money on. Now, what happened to me was because I did that, I had to have a couple of auctions of my own to get rid of junk that were what I'll call mistakes I made, where I bought something, couldn't get out of it what I thought I could. Things accumulated on me. I didn't have room for them. I had an auction, sold them. And those aren't, those experiences weren't real good experiences for me. But I saw this box in the beginning of that era. I was at an auction. We have an auctioneer in our county. Actually, he lives in the neighboring county, but he has virtually every worthwhile sale in our county and has had for a lot of years. And even recently, he's built an auction barn in his county, and he takes all our county people to there to have sales. We hardly have very many good big sales in our county anymore because of that. But that auctioneer was just getting started. He was probably of the 4 or 5 active auctioneers in this area, he was number 4 or 5 as far as getting a sale and being successful and having good things to sell. He was just getting started out and a young man and doing the things that beginning auctioneers do. And one of the first auctions that he had ever, I went to, and he had this box for sale in that auction. Another person that you've heard of already, and you're going to hear of many times in the course of these videos, is my Aunt Colleen. And this is one of the first stories that Aunt Colleen has a part of. We were at this sale, and I probably bought a truckload of stuff and spent less than $100. And I had things like waterfall bedroom suits and rocking chairs and just any number of things, old and new, that I bought that I thought I could maybe turn $1 or $2 profit on. And my Aunt Colleen was at that sale, and she bought this box. She paid $40 for it in the late 1970s. I thought she was absolutely insane because to me, this was just an old box. I hadn't learned to appreciate the fact that the boards in this box are like 24 inches wide. And I hadn't learned to appreciate the fact that this old paint and the fact that it has all this gorgeous wear and character from being used for years and years and years. It's put together with, it doesn't have dovetail joints, but it's got square nailed fasteners in it. And this box has so many features that I've learned to love and appreciate over the years. In those days, I had none of that. I thought that my aunt had absolutely lost her mind paying $40 for a box. I guarantee if they'd have tried to get me to give $2 for it, I wouldn't have bought it. So that was the first time I saw this box. And for many years, this box went out of public view because my aunt put it on her inside back porch or her laundry room, and she used this box as a clothes hamper. Now, over that period of time, a lot of her family began to notice the box, and some of us matured in our view of what good things were and good things weren't, and we began to appreciate a lot of the things about this box. In fact, I went from that day in late 1970s till today, where I'm telling you, this is my favorite all-time box, and this type of thing are my favorite type of things. So a lot has changed since I first saw this box back in the late 70s. My aunt kept this box for a good number of years, and during that time, I'm going to introduce another character in this story, Clint Mooneyham, who was my youngest brother, 11 years younger than me. I think I've told you this before. I was the oldest child. He was the youngest of 5 in our family. And for a period of time, right after he got out of high school, he lived with my Aunt Colleen. She had a son that was within a few months of his same age, Stan. And Clint lived with her, and so he was familiar with this box too from the time that he was a young man. He first knew the box as Aunt Colleen's clothes hamper. And knowing Aunt Colleen, she probably had rules about putting stuff in the clothes hamper, and he was well familiar with this box. Well, and I wish I'd have done my research and found out exactly when Aunt Colleen had her first auction. Uh, I could easily get that information. I may add it later in another video, but for right now, I'm going to say that Aunt Colleen had an auction. She had it when she moved from her big two-story Victorian house on 17th Street to a brand new double wide trailer. And what she did was she lived there alone. She had this giant house full of stuff. She wanted to downsize. She wanted to get her life more manageable. And she had an auction. And I'm telling you, the auction she had, and you're going to see in these videos other things that I bought at that auction. I spent a lot of money the day she had that auction. And I bought lots of things that she had that I wanted. And I didn't have to take out a second mortgage on my house, but spent more money than I intended to, and but I still have a lot of things from that auction. This box sold in that auction, and I liked the box, but I had already agreed with my youngest brother Clint that because he liked the box too. In fact, he said, "That's my favorite thing here. I'm going to buy that." So I said, "Okay, I'll stay out of your way. I won't bid on you against it." And I said, I mentioned some things that I liked, and he said, "I'll stay out of your way on those because to begin with, that one, I don't even have enough money to buy it, and you probably don't either." And I said, "I think you're right, but that'll be another video. Stay with the box right now." My brother got locked in a bidding duel on this box the day of Aunt Colleen's first auction with a man whose wife was part of a family of pickers and antique dealers in our county. She had aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters that have always been associated with old things. And her husband, his name was Pat, he doted on her and he was kind of a show-off kind of guy too. He liked to do things or to impress people. And so he thought that his wife wanted this box, and he was determined that she was going to have it. My brother wanted the box, and he was determined to have it. In the end, the box probably at that time had a legitimate retail value of maybe $200, and that would be top end. For our market, it wouldn't bring that much, but there are markets where this box was worth that much. It got to $600, and at about $350, I started, whispering in my brother's ear, "Clint, that box is way beyond what it should be bringing." But he didn't care. He wanted it for his reasons, and the other guy wanted it for his reasons. At the end of the hammer finally dropped, and it was $615, I think. It might have been $620 or $625, but I think it was $615 that Clint bid, and the other guy got it for the next bid. So this box sold to my Aunt Colleen in 1980, plus or minus, for $40, and then it sold. The next time it sold at auction, a different auctioneer, for $615. And my brother didn't get it. So at that kind of a price, you would think that would be the end of it for our family. But strange things happen in the world of antiques and how they move around and auctions and how they come about. The lady whose husband bought this box was killed in an automobile accident some years after he bought the box. And after he was gone, uh, we found that she didn't like the box as much as he thought she did because she sold the box to her brother. Now, her brother was a used car dealer, a self-proclaimed country music star, and an auctioneer. And he put this box in an auction uh, in our county. And he had the auction at the local armory where a lot of auctions were held at that time and still are sometimes. And I happened to be at the auction. And I was walking around the auction and looking for things that I might possibly buy. And I saw this box. And I thought, man, that looks like Aunt Colleen's box. And I opened it up and I looked at it and I backed up and I looked at it again and I decided there couldn't be another box like that. That's got to be Aunt Colleen's box. So I started asking around about where the things came from that were in the auction. And of course, I knew the auctioneer was the brother of the lady whose husband bought this box. I should have put two and two together before I did, but I didn't. And finally, one of the guys, local guys there, he was pointing out where some of the stuff come from. And then he said, mentioned the lady's name. He said that was hers. He said, remember that time when Pat and this other crazy guy got in that bidding war on that box over there on 17th Street? And I said, yeah, I remember that. He said, that's the box. I said, well, I thought it was. And I didn't mention to anybody that my brother was the other crazy guy, or that my aunt was the person that had the auction, because I didn't want anybody to know how much I might have wanted this box. And long story short, when they sold the box, they sold it for $145, and I bought it. Now, uh, I didn't even bother to tell my brother that I bought it. I just waited until Easter was coming up, shortly after that, and our family usually got together for Easter. And I just waited until he showed up out here for Easter and was walking around the room looking at stuff and seeing what else I'd got new since the last time he was here. And he saw this box and his jaw dropped. He said, wow, he said, that looks just like Aunt Colleen's box. Where'd you get that? And I said, well, it's not Aunt Colleen's box. He said, well, I didn't think it was. I said, it used to be Aunt Colleen's box, but now it's my box. And we had a good laugh. And of course, he tried to buy it from me, but I wouldn't sell him. But I told him when at that time, we thought, in good health, and I was too. And because I was 11 years his senior, I told him, I said, if anything ever happens to me, I'll see to it that you get that box, but it's not going anywhere right away. So I first saw the box sell at auction for $40. Several years later, I saw the box sell at auction for $615. And then finally, at auction again, I bought this box for $145. And the next time somebody buys it, they're either going to pay a whole bunch for it. But it's probably going to stay in my family for a long time. I don't intend to